Right, John, very much looking forward to this.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah, we're at the business end of the season, so we thought now would be quite a good time to rank every Premier League club's season so far. So the Saturday Social Whiteboard is out. We've got 5 categories from A to E. A being the best, E being the worst. We're going to go in alphabetical order. And, of course, we're taking in the whole season as a whole, so all competitions, but based on this season. So we'll start with Arsenal. The lads have to agree on where they're placing it. We need to have a club in every category. Arsenal.
For me, straight A. I mean, top of the table, 9 points clear. City do have a game in hand and they still have to play Arsenal, but they've lost the Carabao Cup final. They're still in the FA Cup. They're still in the Champions League, which should be a pretty standard route to the semi-final minimum for Arsenal. They've competed on all fronts. They're the best defensive team in the world. They're arguably the best team in the world. I think it's a straight A.
I have zero complaints about that. For me, they're A. I don't know what more. I mean, they could have won the Carabao Cup. That would have strengthened their claim for it even more. But Arsenal are having a fantastic season. And at the moment, they're on trajectory to accomplish almost every single one of their goals. So, yeah, A.
Brilliant season.
Doesn't need much more conversation.
OK, fine. Aston Villa.
I think Villa are having a really good season. They're still in the Europa League. They're facing Bologna, which won't be an easy game, but they are the favourite. And I think if they get past that, they should probably win the whole Europa League. If you talk about their league form, they've jumped up. They were 6th last year. Pretty comfortable in top 4, 5 points off
now,
Liverpool, which I think they should get Champions League. So if they were to solidify Champions League and potentially even win the Europa League, it'd be a brilliant season. But even now, just looking at it, how far they've come, I think this is either a high B or low A.
It's an interesting point you make about the Europa League, because obviously it's a real chance of silverware, and we see what that means when obviously Spurs beat United and how much that did for Tottenham last season. I know Lias had an awful journey to get there.
How much did it do for you this season? How much has it done for you?
It took you a long time to get there, but for a club, realistically, that could be a monumental success. I know it's called a final stage, but how much do you have to factor that in?
Well, hopefully for them, they don't finish 17th the following season, right? Let's hope for Aston Villa's sake.
Fair point.
But to be fair, when I look at this list, right, and we're grading team seasons, I think a lot of it also has to come down to the expectation at the start of the season. I don't know where you guys sat, but when I looked at Villa, the way they ended last season and their transfer activity in the summer, I actually thought that they were going to have a slow start to a slow season period. And they actually did. I think the first 5 games, they were winless or so. Yeah. But the way they've grown into this year, and at one point even flirted with the title race for a few weeks. They went 11 games winning run. That was crazy as well, too. I agree with Luca. I think it's a high B. I think it is. Yeah. High B is probably fair, yeah. If Villa make Champions League football, I'm not sure how many people probably expected that at the start of the year.
Yeah, one of the lowest spenders in the summer as well.
I think if they win the Europa League, though, it could get bumped up.
Yeah, if they win the Europa League and finish in the top 4, I think it's an A, yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Bournemouth.
I think Bournemouth are having a good season considering how their transfer market went in the summer. They lost pretty much their whole back line, Kirkers, Dean Huijsen, Zabani. There were a lot of question marks. Would they be able to maintain that strong defence that they had? Would they be able to even stay in the Premier League, some people are saying? And they're around mid-table now, a couple points off 10th.
13th, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they're doing well considering the players that they lost. So I'd probably go like B or C.
And Semenyo as well this season. You have to factor that in as well. I mean, that's a big factor you have to look at.
You know what's crazy? Actually, I feel like they've been better post-January, right? And that's including losing Semenyo. But since they've lost Semenyo, the way they've almost recovered their year, and they become one of the hardest teams to beat yet again in the Premier League. The acquisition of Ryan from Brazil has been really, really good. I give a lot of credit to Iraola, man, because this is a guy that continues to lose his best players. The exodus that happened at Bournemouth over the summer is well documented, and yet he has Bournemouth still playing attractive football. They're still one of the teams I look out for, and at the moment, they're upsetting quite a few big teams.
Do you think they'll keep hold of Iraola in the summer? There's going to be interest. Obviously, we've seen Bilbao, heavy interest from his
They'll do well to keep him, man. I think Iraola is a fantastic manager, honestly. Yeah, you're right. 100%. He could be going to Athletic Bilbao, but yeah, I think they'll do well to keep him. He's a fantastic coach.
Where's he going?
Okay.
I'd say B.
I go C. 13th is still 13th. Yeah, for me, they're not as good as they were last season. Yes, they lost players, but B for me is just a touch high.
You got to decide. You two got to come to the decision.
We'll go C then.
Okay.
We'll go C then.
Next up, Brentford. I mean,
for me, clear A.
Unbelievable season. And I think do you have to factor in the expectation going into this
100%.
and look back at how many experts, pundits, fans all had Brentford as relegation contenders, and they currently sit 7th, I believe they're in the league now. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
This is like a clear A. They might even be top out of all of these in terms of expectation. They lost their main striker, their top scorer. They lost Wissa. They lost their captain. They lost their manager, their backroom staff.
Coaches
They lost
as well, yeah.
Lost everyone, and they've done so well. to push so much higher than everyone
Still in the
expected.
Champions League hunt.
They're 3 points
Yeah,
off it.
they could get European football, which is an incredible feat for them. And I think Andrews has been incredible as a coach this year. Might even go down as manager of the season, to be honest. So I think Brentford is a clear A.
I think it's a good shout to mention the gaffer as well.
100%.
Been unbelievable in his first season there.
They're just a great representation of when you're well run, what you can do, right? You lose that many big figures at your football club. I know we were going to talk about Mbemo and Wissa, but for me, Thomas Frank, what he did for that football club, he practically not built by himself, but he was such a huge catalyst for Brentford's rise up the leagues to the Premier League. And for Keith Andrews to come in speaks, yes, to how good Keith Andrews is, but also just speaks to the succession plan that they seem to have in terms of just, it's like a factory. Anyone who goes in, goes out, no problem, next player in. So I go Brentford A, yeah, 100%.
Especially the striker situation.
Yeah, Igor Thiago, I mean, it looks like they don't miss Wissa whatsoever.
Yeah, never played in a major European competition. It could be a landmark season for them this season.
Okay, Brighton.
Brighton, for me, like, they've maintained expectations in terms of finishing around mid-table.
You think so, man? Brighton
they're always the same.
Brighton are the weirdest club in the Premier League for me because I look at their squad and I actually think they have a lot of talent, man. I do. The other week, yes, they're not having the best individual seasons, but the other week they brought on Mitoma and Baleba. I'm sorry, those are two players that over the last few years would get into so many big squads around Europe, let alone just the Premier League. I think they have quality throughout. Their manager is young. He gets a lot of hype for the way they play. I watch them. They actually play decent football, especially against the big sides. And you think to yourself, could they maybe do what Brentford are doing in terms of pushing for the Champions League spots, do what Everton are doing? And then I see the results halfway through the year. They're on 13th, 14th. I look at the results. They got 11 wins, 10 draws, 10 losses. It's just, for me, it's a little underwhelming. I think Brighton should be looking to push a little farther up than they currently are. At the moment, it just feels like it's a club that are almost designed just to develop players, sell them on for a big fee, go buy young players, rinse and repeat. I think...
So you expected European football?
Yeah, I think I did. I remember a few seasons under De Zerbi, they got it. Last year, they were a little unlucky with the Crystal Palace situation. But this year, I don't know, I feel like they've kind of fell a little flat for me, Brighton.
Okay.
I personally expected mid-table roughly. I'd go C.
Yeah, C. Yeah, okay, we can go C, but I don't know. I'd be curious to hear from.
What do you think?
We'll go
They're
C.
only 4 points worse off than they were last season at this stage. They're still in the hunt for a top 10 finish.
If they're 4 points off than they were last season, I'm sorry, they've declined. Like that's not good. Like why are we trying to dress that up as a good thing?
Oh, we're talking about
Your
Brighton.
list.
Yeah.
I mean, D, if you agree on.
You agreeing on C or D?
Yeah, I'll go C, man.
Okay.
I think C.
I don't think we
Next
can
up.
say that's Brighton anymore in the Premier League these days when you look at what Fulham are doing, what Brentford are doing, what Everton are doing. Those clubs aren't better in terms of squad quality than Brighton for me. Nah, I don't think so.
Burnley. I think D, to be honest. I mean, no disrespect to Burnley, but we all sort of expected them to go down. And they've done better than some of the recent teams that have come up, like Ipswich, Southampton, etc. They got a big point at Anfield this season, but in general, it's not really much to say.
When you're talking about the
morale,
draw that you
for
got at
morale.
one point, the morale didn't do that many things.
Yeah, it didn't do
I
much.
think the
but-
fan base has been pretty angry with how this season's gone.
Yeah.
Like, you're saying D?
Maybe D.
What are you saying?
Probably D.
They could finish below Wolves.
Yeah, I'm going E. The
E.
Wolves were on track to be the worst Premier League team in history, and they're 3 points behind Burnley. And I actually think Burnley at the start of the season were actually decent when I was watching them. They were picking up the odd point here and there.
Yeah.
They played really good games against United and Liverpool despite losing both of them. I thought, maybe they could make a push when they play against the smaller sides. And Scott Parker, I just think it's another club that looks to be going down under his tenureship. It's not looking good for him at the moment. I'm going with E, to be honest with you. Yeah, I go E.
Okay.
If they finish 20th in the league, it's a disaster.
Okay, next up, Chelsea. Obviously finished fourth last season. Club World Cup winners, of course. Conference League, they won sixth currently. They had that disappointing result in the Champions League as well. There's a lot being said about Chelsea. How do you assess Chelsea this season?
Yeah, big drop-off from what I expected. I expected them to push and get top four, if I'm being completely honest, after the Club World Cup. It's been a massive disaster in terms of recruitment. I think the board they're really far off the expectation of what a board should operate at a club like Chelsea. I think changing the manager as well from Maresca to Rosenior is a very poor decision from them. But on the pitch, they've just not been very good. They risk not even finishing in Europe this season. That's how poor
Do you
Chelsea.
think they won't finish in European sport?
I think they really risk it, yeah. I think they might just drop out. And they're still in the FA Cup.
I mean, they could. The club is a
Easily
disaster at the moment, right? The players are coming out and speaking about how disillusioned they feel. None of them can understand why Maresca was sacked. Enzo's been suspended for 2 games. Liam Rossinier's got them huddling around the ball. They can't win any game. I'm sorry, if we're being absolutely honest here, I low-key think Chelsea should be an E. I genuinely do. And I don't know if that's even that controversial to say. This was a club that I thought after the Club World Cup, when they signed João Pedro and they beat PSG in the final, no matter how seriously you take that competition, I thought, wow, that could be a moment for Chelsea
to kick on, you mean?
Kick on
Yeah.
and sign a few more players. The window was still open. And maybe even look, the challenge, not win the league, but challenge. The fact that we're having a conversation about maybe them not making Europe. Everton are right on their necks. They just got beat, 8-2 by PSG over 2 legs. They have a squad that's worth the same amount of money in terms of money spent on them as PSG. I'm sorry, I'm putting Chelsea E. I think E for Chelsea.
I would have probably gone D, but okay, I'll give you that.
That was very impassioned.
Yeah, I think
I love it. I love it.
I'll let him have
it annoys me a little, and I feel the same way about Man United. Obviously, we're having a decent season at the moment, but I felt that way the past few years as well too. When you spend the amount of money that these clubs spend, we talk so much about how deep the Premier League is, and anyone can beat anyone, and I get that, and that's the allure as well too. But for Chelsea, that's not a good thing if anyone can beat you. You have spent so much more money than everybody else, and yet you look bang average on most weeks. That's a concern for me.
Okay.
The passion, I love it. Man.
Will he be as passionate about Crystal Palace? Yes, we'll see.
Well,
obviously had an amazing season, won their first ever major trophy. I was there at the FA Cup. It was unbelievable seeing what that meant to Palace fans. They're still in, again, context for this, losing players this season, and they are still in Europe as well.
Exactly. I think, obviously, last year was the best season in their club's history.
Yep.
They won the FA Cup, won the Community Shield. They lost Eze, their star player. They lost Gahey mid-season. Mateta's had injury problems. He was linked with a move away. Same as the manager. It's been a bit hectic in terms of the personnel at Crystal Palace, so we have to remember that in terms of context. And like you said, Smithy, they're still in Europe. They could easily win the Conference League. But FA Cup, poor retention, probably the worst title retainers ever. Let's just say it as
well. It was the biggest upset in terms of league positions in their first game as
100%. I think they're 14th at the minute in the Premier League as well. So again, still in and around top 10, but not the best. I think they can do well in Europe. I'm probably around this sort of area.
I'm going D. I'm going D for Crystal Palace. I think as well, too, you talk about the unrest of the manager. He's flirting with leaving every single week. The Gahey situation, I don't know if it was handled the best. Mateta literally was like threatening to boycott. I don't think they've played great football this year. The position isn't great. 14th place is nothing to write home about. I go D. Even in Europe, to be honest with you, they haven't been super convincing. I think they're getting by because, let's be real, it's the third-rate European competition. They have a more expensive squad than everybody. I'm going D for Crystal Palace.
Okay.
Got D.
Everton.
Everton. Very good season for them. I believe they're 8th at the minute, pushing European spots, only 3
points off Chelsea.
Yeah, and Liverpool as well, which is massive.
See what I'm saying? How can I said my piece. Go ahead.
I think they play an effective brand of football with David Moyes as well. Some brilliant players like Iliman and Jai, who's been fantastic this year. And the thing is with Everton, they're a huge club, so they should be in and around the top 8 in terms of club stature, but there's no divine right, of course, in football. So I'd probably go A or B for Everton. Very good season.
You know what's so weird about Everton as well, too? When you look at their home record for a club like Everton, you almost think that those kinds of clubs make their home ground their fortress, and maybe away from home, that's where they struggle to pick up points. But I think the record at the Hill Dickinson the season isn't fantastic. And I know they're looking to make it a home. I completely get it. They've left Goodison, but it's weird. But away from home, their record is actually fantastic.
Yeah, they've got the 4th best Premier League away record this season.
Really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
And 14th at home, you're right, yeah.
Yeah, this is a good one. I mean, you let me know. I don't really mind B.
I think high B or low A. That's what I was thinking. I was sort of in between that.
Have they had a better season than Villa?
Context-wise,
Villa are about to make change. I'll go Everton B. I think
we'll go B?
They could finish, they finished Europa League. I think you have to say Everton got an A.
Okay.
Next up, Fulham. Last season 11th, this season 9th. They finished 10th, 13th and 11th since returning to the Premier League. So they're always sort of at that level, aren't they?
Yeah, but they're pushing for Europe this year. Like they're a couple points off. I think Fulham are a team that should be in and around the top 10. So I think that they've achieved really what they set out to achieve at the start of the season. Harry Wilson's been excellent this season.
What a season.
Like 16 goal contributions in the league, which is ridiculous.
And the quality of goals that he scored as well.
Brilliant player.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You say that they're achieving what they expect. I actually think they overachieve consistently, Fulham. I know Marco Silva was pretty unhappy with how business was kind of conducted over the summer. He didn't feel like he was backed enough. But yet they just continue to grind out results. They just continue to find out ways to win. They just continue to elevate the performances of players to levels I don't really think they belong at. I go Fulham B.
Yeah,
I think what Marco Silva has done at that club is really
Total agreement. Okay.
Wow, okay.
Next up, Leeds.
Leeds. I think it really, my vote would change depending on if they stay up or not.
Yeah.
Because right now I'd probably go like B or C in the sense that I expected Leeds to really fight relegation, and they are, but they're 4 points above the drop. And I think if they were to stay up, it would be an incredible season for them to come up and stay up in the very first year.
Because that would be their aim going into the season.
100% it would be their aim. And I think they're doing really well to not even be in the bottom 3 currently. So I'd probably go B at the minute or C.
I don't mind B because I think Leeds at the start of the year were, again, one of those teams that we looked at and thought, do they have the individual quality to stay in the Premier League? You look at the squad that they have. You look at Daniel Farke, who there was so much focus on his, even before the ball was kicked this year, halfway through the season, they were saying he had a few games left to save his job. And since that kind of moment where the rumor mill was starting, I think Leeds have really kicked on this season. I agree with Luca. I think it massively depends on if they stay up or not, but they look like they're going to stay up. So at the moment, maybe even a B.
It is close, isn't it? I mean, it's close. I mean, only Burnley and Wolves have won less games, I think. So like, they've drawn an awful lot. But since Farke changed that system, moved to back five, they've definitely been better. So if they stay up, and we are doing it based on now, and they're out of the relegation zone.
I go B, to be honest with you, for Leeds.
And they've got massive results. They beat Chelsea, they drew to Chelsea away, they drew to Liverpool at home, United at home they drew. So I think Leeds have had a really good season.
Yeah.
So B.
Okay, next one. Interesting one. Liverpool, last season's champions.
Yeah.
You want to go first?
It looks like you're ready to go first.
He's going to go in a lot harder. Okay, we'll do a good cop, bad cop situation.
I'm about to be a bad cop here. We talked about expectations, right? We talked about how we thought the season would go for him. This was the team that were top of the league last season. They won the league at a canter. They were by far and away the best team in the Premier League. And then to follow up on that, had an incredible transfer window on paper. The amount of money that they spent, the quality of players they were bringing in. We weren't talking about Liverpool repeating. We were thinking, could they create another dynasty in the Premier League? The way the season has gone from start to now is nothing short of an unmitigated disaster. Let's just call it what it is, guys. Their record signing has been injured half the year. Their other record signing has failed to kick on, as far as I'm concerned. The best player in the league last season is on his way out a year later because he hasn't been able to get it going. Defensively, they've been an absolute mess. They're a million points off the top of the league. Yes, they're in the Champions League, but that doesn't look like they're going to do anything against PSG. At the moment, when you talk about expectation compared to reality, no club has underachieved more than Liverpool this season. For that reason,
24 points worse.
24 points. They've lost how many games in the league this season? 10.
Yeah,
8 fewer wins and scored 22 fewer goals.
And I think since the first 5 games of the year, of course, the
10
first 5
Premier
games
League
count.
games have lost,
Since the first 5 games of the year, I think they have like a 33% win rate in the Premier League. Guys, that's diabolical for a team of the quality Liverpool possess.
So, Luca, there's bad cop. Good luck. Take good cop away.
The good cop is that they've played in a few competitions this year, so maybe that's the only positive I can.
How big is the FA Cup game this weekend against Man City?
Yeah, it's huge, Smithy, because I think that's what sort of offsets. I think in terms of league, 100%. Yeah. But the fact that they're still in the FA Cup, the Champions League.
For a few more hours during the FA Cup, let's see.
I think that they do lose both them games. They're the underdogs in both, but anything can happen. That's why maybe just because of the cup competitions, you could maybe argue D just to subsidise a bit. But in terms of league, they're the worst title retainers I've seen in my lifetime. And spending, $500 million money as well.
The worst, and we're even considered, this is E. I'm sorry, this is E.
Okay?
Yeah.
You made your decision?
Okay, we'll go E then. Sorry,
heavy
Liverpool
duty
fans.
work for Chelsea
Yes, very passionate.
Liverpool.
And Luca's easily swayed, isn't he, buddy? This is what we're learning.
I mean, I would have gone
City.
but,
We have to take into context as well, obviously, the only bit of silverware that's up for grabs, they have got over the line with that.
They've won the Carabao Cup.
Yeah.
I think in terms of the league, they're 9 points off Arsenal, but if they were to win their game in hand and beat Arsenal, it is only 1 point. But City have set such high standards over the last 5 years. If they aren't first at this point, it is slight underachieving, in my opinion, when it comes to a club and a team like City. In terms of the Champions League, they lost to Madrid. I think they were the favourites going into that tie in general.
That was disappointing the way
it was disappointing. There's obviously no shame in losing against
especially
Madrid
the
in the
Bernabeu
Champions League.
performance.
Yeah,
Goodness me.
It was so poor. It was really poor. They're still in the FA Cup, of course, but in terms of the standards City set year upon year, I think it's a B.
Yeah, I agree. It's a B.
Yeah?
They've been in the title race all year. They've already collected silverware. They're not underachieving like other sides. Could they, do they have a great? There's a reason they have those standards. They have an expensive squad.
Yeah.
They have the best manager in the world. So in a way, they have underachieved a little bit, but I wouldn't say enough to put them outside of B.
Okay,
Still
B.
could get a domestic cup double.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is impressive.
Still could win the league. Let's have it right.
Yeah, but I don't. The way they've let the league slip by them, I look at them a lot more than I look at Arsenal. For example,
Okay.
Arsenal have set a tremendous pace. But Manchester City have dropped so many silly points in seasons where they just wouldn't normally.
Where would you have Man United then? Yes, you're the United fan?
The first half of the season, I would have a C. Since Michael Carrick came in, I would have them an A. So we'll meet in the middle and we'll go with B because they're about to finish 3rd place. I think last year they finished 15th. I certainly didn't have United finishing in the Champions League positions this year. So I think they've overachieved from where most people would have had them. I think their signings, for the most part, have been successful. I look at Senne Lammens as the most consistent of the lot. And I think the big question is going forward into next season, do they retain the manager? But based on this year, I think a B is fair.
Would you have
17
Carrick
points better off
next season?
I look at who his opposition is for the job, and I don't really look at a clear standout unless Luis Enrique reverses the decision and decides to leave. So if they were to give him the job, I don't think anyone can really have too many faults about it. I think he's done a good job.
Okay, let's get him up.
Do we disagree? Anyone?
I would go C, to be honest.
C?
Yeah, I would, personally.
Man United's finishing third as a C.
No, yeah, because you have to factor in the start of the season and the end. I think at the start of Amaranth, it's really
competition.
I think since the start...
Grimsby was embarrassing.
Yeah.
FA Cup was poor. You're not in European football.
Okay, that's fair.
That's why I would say C. Really poor start,
But
good end.
I think since Carrick came in, has anyone collected more points in the Premier League than Man United?
But these are like the last 10 games.
But the last 10 games have us
you
in
have
third.
to factor in...
It's context of the whole season.
The whole season has us in third. Right, we're not third off the last 10 games. We're third.
I think Luke has mentioned the cup competitions as well.
You have to factor in the cup competitions, not playing in Europe as well.
That's why I would go a low B. I'd go a low B, but we're still
Luca,
in B.
what you
Third
doing?
place. Hold on. Third place can't be C.
You want C?
I would go C.
Okay.
I'm going C for Man United in third. Anybody? Where did you have Man United finishing at the start of the season?
Fifth.
We're in third. We've automatically overachieved. How can we be
17 points better off than last season?
Come on, man. Seriously.
I'm including the cup competitions and the start as well. That's why I've gone
Hey,
C.
cup
but-
competition might have us an
You
A,
lot
you know?
are pressing.
Let's make the decision.
Go on, you
then.
make a
Let's
decision.
go. Come on.
I'm going B.
He's putting-
first.
Because you're a United.
He's let the S overrule him on everything.
Go on.
He's a United fan. We'll get-
You let him completely overrule you there. I'm definitely having C. Okay, D.
I just want to let the
Where do you guys
people know
stand on that? Joe is
Newcastle.
biased. Where would you have put them?
I think if you're doing overall competitions, in fact, the cup competition, it would be C, but definitely since Carrick's reign, you've got to have him B. So I think either is
on,
fine, to be
Carrick.
honest.
Next talking
Newcastle
point
is an interesting
is
one,
big.
isn't it? Very interesting one. This season 12th. They were 5th last season. Amazing season last season, again, winning silverware. There's a lot been said about Newcastle. Lias, do you want to kick us off with where you stand on their season so far?
It's a disappointment. There's no getting around it, right? They spent a lot of money in the summer. And I think there's context to be added there because the Alexander Isak saga, I think, massively interfered with what they wanted to do. They were turned down by so many targets before ultimately settling with Voltemata. And I think at the start of the season, they were really interesting, but I just think under Eddie Howe, things seem to have stagnated, to be honest with you. And it's a bit unfortunate that his tenure is kind of coming to an end the way it is, because he's done fantastically with Newcastle. But I just look at Newcastle and the amount of money they spend and where they want to get to. Is he the guy that can take them to that next level? And I have my doubts. The way they exited to Barcelona, there's no shame in losing to Barca, but I think the manner was a bit embarrassing. Sunderland doing the double against them in their first year back, that's a bit embarrassing. Voltemata playing in midfield because Eddie Howe can't find a solution from up front. The football that they're playing isn't great. I just think Newcastle, they've kind of hit a ceiling under Eddie Howe, and it's a bit unfortunate because
I'm just going to defend Eddie Howe a little bit here, though. The situation behind the scenes in the summer was tough.
It's tough.
Without the sporting director, without the CEO, the recruitment he was playing a major role in, it was really difficult given that Isak was going. There was lots of turbulence behind the scenes.
So public as well, wasn't it?
Really difficult situation. And I think this is kind of the case with Newcastle and Aston Villa as well, to a level that PSR issues means that you are going to have a season where you're just smashing Champions League, then you drop out, and then you're back in, then
Newcastle
you're back out,
spent
back in,
way
back
more
out.
money than Villa did, for example. Villa, if they had fell off, I would have...
They did,
like I said,
Villa
I almost predicted it.
Villa
but
didn't sell a £150 million player.
I hear that, but they also didn't spend however much they did on Elanga, on Voltemata, on Jacob Ramsey, excuse me. They did spend a lot of money to strengthen that squad, and I think you have to look at Eddie Howe as well, too, to get the best out of a lot of those players. He is the manager. Has he done that? I'm not so sure. I would go for D.
So where you
Yeah, I was going to say D just because I think in Champions League they did quite well to get the round of 16, but in the league
they got in the top 8, didn't they?
Yeah, but in the league they've been
Forest?
poor. Forest, I'd go D because of what they've done in Europe only. But in terms of the league, the drop-off has been massive. They were in and around European spots. They were in European spots, sorry. They were only a few points off Champions League
Nearly
last
Champions
season.
League last season.
And they're battling relegation. They've got
25 points worse off.
Yeah, it's really... In terms of the league drop-off, I would say them and Liverpool are quite comparable in terms of expectations. But the only reason I was going to put them in D is just because of what they're doing in Europe. They've got to play Porto, which will be a tough game. They're top of the league and us, but that's why I'd offset it a bit.
I really don't like as well, too, the situation, the managers that they've gone through. I mean, it's been a bit of a mess when you look at them, starting with Nuno, to Ange, to Sean Dyche. Now they've gone with Vitor Pereira. And look, D is maybe even a bit generous because if Forest end up going down at the end of the season, this is without a doubt an E. And it's crazy to say that for a club that were flirting with Champions League football last season.
Okay, there you go.
Well, if they were to go down, I'd agree it's E, but
I'll let you have this one.
You're up. Sunderland?
Sunderland straight A. Massively shooting above their weight. A lot of people were saying maybe they would even stay in the division, but they're 10th, I believe, at the minute. They've done the double over Newcastle. Huge season for them.
They're 11th.
They're 11th in the league. They could potentially even push for Europe. I mean, this is a huge season for them. The first season they're back in the Prem since the 16-17 season as well. Brilliant season for Sunderland. I'd go A.
Okay.
They've won the joint most from losing positions as well, which is, I think, says a lot from a mentality perspective, equal with Villa, that is, for a team that has just been promoted. So
Who's the next?
Yeah, next team is Spurs.
Where would you have them, Smiths?
Well, obviously it's not been not a lot
really?
of fun.
Just
Is
slap
this the
them
most
down
obvious
there, man.
one?
I think you, man.
Yeah, no, honestly, I actually
Yeah.
think it's disrespectful to those other 3 clubs ahead of them to put them on the same tier. Like, as bad as Liverpool have been, Spurs might get relegated. I'm sorry, guys.
Do you think Tottenham will get relegated?
They have every chance. They can. Like,
Under De
it's
Zerbi?
possible, huh?
Under De Zerbi?
Yeah, what? They haven't hired Guardiola here, man. They've hired De Zerbi, maybe the most volatile manager in the game.
I mean, they've actually put him below E just to wind me up, I think, there, Joe.
It's not a wind-up, though. This is a disaster.
No, it's
Yeah,
not
no,
been
it is.
the season a lot of fans would have helped, so I don't think anyone can
Seriously.
argue with that.
Although the one thing you will say is it's 17th last season, 17th this season. So
On the level.
consistent, isn't it?
Yeah.
Major
But
European
congratulations
trophy.
on the Europa League. Right?
Major European trophy there last
Yeah,
season.
well,
Anyway, West Ham.
West Ham, I think, have had a really poor season. At the start of the season, I remember everyone was doing their predictions, and people had West Ham around 15th, and a lot of West Ham fans were quite offended by that. They thought that they should be in and around mid-table, and they've changed managers a couple times as well this season. It's been completely turbulent, but I will give them credit in the sense that at Christmas time it was almost certain that they would go down, and Nuno's done well in the new year, and they're fighting relegation. They might make a great escape, but even then, if they were to make a great escape, it would still be a poor season from West Ham's perspective.
Okay, where are you going to put them?
D or E?
I would say the one thing for West Ham, I feel it's been coming, right? I don't think we can say anymore of West Ham, it's a poor season for them, because this is kind of where they've been over the last few years. I'll leave it up to you. I think it could be either
you're
D or
sticking in D,
E,
are you?
the final chance.
Finally, Wolves, Luca.
Wolves, I think they did well to not beat the worst point record in the Premier League history.
Minor wins.
Yeah, they've done well recently in the last month or so in February,
Yeah.
but Wolves, I mean, they're always going to struggle. They're always going to go down. So
I think they'll come back up the next season, though. I like what Rob Edwards has kind of done since he's come in. I think he took over an impossible job.
Yeah, he's done all right, actually.
I actually think they've been much better. They picked up some big points as well, too.
Yeah.
Beat Liverpool, drew to Arsenal, drew to Man United.
Yeah.
They've actually been on the up since Rob Edwards came in.
Yeah,
I think it was just too much.
I think they might catch Burnley. I don't think they'll finish bottom.
Which
but-
is, for him, a big accomplishment, because they were dead in the water.
So D?
stick him down.
Stick him up then,
Stick 'em
and
up.
we can see the boys'
You
list
You, man.
of
I got Man United.
ranking each Premier League club season so far.